Swasti hasti girimastashekaraha santanotu mai santatam harihi nissamabhyadikam abhyadatta tam devam aupanishadi saraswati Srinidhim nidhimavaramartinam artitartha paridana dikshitam sarvabhuta suhridam dayanidhim devaraja madirajamashreye sarvabhuta suhridam dayanidhim devaraja madirajamashreye Gajendra rakshat paritam bhavantam grahair ivaham vishayair vikrishtaha apara vijnana dayanubhavam aptam satam ashtabujam prapadhye aptam satam ashtabujam prapadhye. We are back in satsang with a special topic series for the summer, Gajendra Moksha. What a fascinating, ever-elevating episode, celebrated widely. It is one of those very special episodes from Srimad Bhagavatam, celebrated for various reasons. Interestingly, this episode where Gajendra gets rescued by Bhagavan is celebrated as Gajendra Moksha, not just as Gajendra Stuti. Now, we see throughout Bhagavatam there are scintillating stutis. Bhagavatam is a treasury of stutis which uplift us, elevate us, enthuse us, and empower us to connect with Bhagavan and immerse ourselves in bhakti. Right from the beginning, we have been relishing several stutis. But Gajendra Stuti, while it is as scintillating as any other stuti, possibly even more scintillating. In fact, our acharyas recommend Gajendra Stuti to be chanted first thing in the morning. Such is the power of Gajendra Moksha Stuti. Now, we don't just celebrate this episode where obviously we find a glorious stuti presented by Gajendra to Bhagavan. In fact, Gajendra Stuti is the very manual for doing Sharanagati. But then, we celebrate it as Gajendra Moksha, not just Gajendra Stuti. The Stuti is a part of this glorious celebration called Gajendra Moksha. Now, by inference, Gajendra Moksha has to imply Gajendra Bandha also. So, we can actually look at this incident, this glorious episode from Bhagavatam as three parts: Gajendra Bandha, Gajendra Stuti, Gajendra Moksha. And we celebrate all these three parts together as Gajendra Moksha. Three words are enough to reflect on this brilliant episode of Gajendra Moksha. Varanam, Karanam, Aranam. Varanam means elephant. Karanam, Narayana. Adikarana, Akila Karana, Nishkarana, Adbhuta Karana. Aranam, the only shelter. When Varanam meditated on the Karanam, he obtained Aranam. That's the very crux of Gajendra Moksha. The fascinating fact of Gajendra Moksha, which often is not well known, is that Gajendra Moksha happened twice. Or rather, I should say the Gajendra lila happened twice. The first time when Gajendra lila happened, Gajendra Moksha lila happened, it was not on Bhuloka. The first Gajendra Moksha lila happened in Shvetadvipa. Shvetadvipa is a dvipa in Ksheerabdi, Ksheerasagara. That is the time, the first time when it happened. And it did not happen in this Manvantara. It happened in the 4th Manvantara. First Manvantara is Swayambhuva Manvantara. Second Manvantara is Svarochisha Manvantara. Third Manvantara is Uttama Manvantara. Fourth Manvantara is Tamasa Manvantara. 7th Manvantara is Vaivashvata Manvantara. We are in the 7th Manvantara of this Kalpa, Shvetavaraha Kalpa. Every Kalpa has 14 Manvantaras. We are in the 7th Manvantara, Vaivashvata Manvantara. The first Gajendra Moksha lila happened not in Vaivashvata Manvantara, it happened in the 4th Manvantara, Tamasa Manvantara. And where did it happen? It happened in Shvetadvipa, Ksheerabdi Sagara. Now, when did the second Gajendra Moksha lila happen? It happened in Vaivashvata Manvantara. In this Chatur Yuga, in Satya Yuga, where it happened? In Bhuloka, in a place which is even now celebrated as Hasti Shaila, Hastigiri, Kanchipuram, where even today we can visit the Gajendra Pushkarini and have the blessings of Devaraja, Adhiraja, Hastigiri Masthashekara, Varadaraja. Another fascinating fact of Gajendra Moksha is that it is also an avatara lila. The first time when the Gajendra Moksha happened, it was also a lila of Bhagavan, and it is also during an avatara. We most often don't celebrate this avatara. This avatara is called the avatara of Hari. When we look at Bhagavan's avataras, there are different kinds of avataras. Now, in Bhagavatam, if we have to refresh our memories, if at all we can refresh our memories, we did discuss Manvantara avataras. Apart from Yuga avataras, Bhagavan also takes Manvantara avataras. There are special avatars during every Manvantara. So the avatara during Tamasa Manvantara, the very beginning of Tamasa Manvantara, is the avatara of Hari as the son of Harimedha and Harini. Interestingly, we celebrate Nrisimha Avatara as an avatara which was taken only for the sake of Bhakta Prahalada, because there is nothing else Bhagavan does during Nrisimha Avatara. Now, during many avatars, we see Bhagavan doing several other cheshtitas. Only in Nrisimha Avatara, his one and only mission is to protect Bhakta Prahalada. Now, interestingly, the only one mission of the avatara of Hari is to protect Bhakta Gajendra. That way, Gajendra Moksha lila is also special and unique. Now, the second time when Gajendra Moksha lila happened in Vaivasvata Manvantara, we see that it happened in Kanchi, Hasti Shaila. Now there also an avatara happened. It was the avatara of Archa. Because Bhagavan also not only manifests as Vibhava, all the avatars we generally discuss are Vibhava avataras, but we also must celebrate his Archa avataras. When he manifests as Archa Murti, he remains Purna Paripurna. Even during his Archa avataras, he remains limitlessly auspicious. So therefore, again another avatara, the avatara as Adiraja, Devaraja, Vardaraja, Hastigiri Mastashekara is celebrated as part of the Gajendra Moksha lila during Vaivasvata Manvantara, this Chatur Yuga. The illustrious Kuresha celebrates Vardaraja's glory. Swasti Hastigiri Mastashekaraha. He celebrates Varadaraja as not just Devadiraja, Hastigiri Mastashekaraha, he says. Why is Kanchi called Hastigiri? This is where Gajendra worshipped Bhagavan. And therefore, the hill where Gajendra resided and worshipped Bhagavan is popularly called Hastigiri. Hasti means elephant. Hastigiri. Swasti Hastigiri Mastashekaraha. Santanotumai Santatam Harihi. Nissamabhyatika Abhyudatta. Yam Devam Aupanishadi Saraswati. Hey Hastigiri Mastashekara, hey Varadaraja, may you without any interruption continue to shower abundance of auspiciousness on me. May you, who are declared in the Upanishads as one who has no equal or superior, may you continue to abundantly shower blessings on me. Srinidhim nidhim aparamartina martitatta paridana dikshitam. Sarvabhuta suhurdum dayanidhim devaraja madiraja mashraye. You are Srinidhi. You are Aparanidhi. You are Nidhi. You are a treasure, he Bhagavan. What kind of a treasure are you? You are Aparanidhi. Limitless treasure. You are an ocean, limitless ocean of Kalyana Gunas like Daya, compassion, Vatsalya, Saushilya, Saulabhya. And you are Artitartha Paridana Dikshitam. You have taken the vow, the pledge that you will bestow whatever those who approach you and seek whatever you are. That is why he is called Varada Raja. Varada means one who bestows boons. Whatever one seeks, one gets. He constantly keeps rewarding us all the time, giving us gifts profusely, whether we ask him or we do not ask him. That is his job to do. And therefore we assume our job is to ask all the time. So we never stop asking, he never stops giving. Even if we stop asking, giving is his only nature. And therefore he is Varadaraja. And it is because of this nature of Bhagavan, his compassion to give without questioning, that Gajendra called out to Bhagavan to come to his rescue. So incidentally, whenever we discuss Gajendra Moksha, the first question that is always asked is, why did not Bhagavan come to his rescue beforehand? Sometimes we always ask some seemingly right questions. We use all our intellect and come up with seemingly difficult questions. And we question the Shastras. Bhagavan is Varada, Devaraja, Daya, he is Dayanidhi, he is Srinidhi, he is ready to bestow, he continuously gives. So why should I call him? Why should Gajendra call him and only then he should come? Same question we also ask. What was Krishna doing until Draupadi called out for help? No. He should have come and protected her right before, even before she got insulted, even before she got dragged into the abyss of that situation. Very good question to ask. But what we fail to understand, the call is not to Bhagavan. The call is not to Bhagavan to come and rescue us. The call is to rescue us from ourselves. We must understand this very clearly. The call is to rescue us from ourselves. The call is nothing but a transformation that happens within us. It is not that Bhagavan does not know we are in pain. It is not that Bhagavan does not know that some calamity has struck us. No, we all think we have to call Bhagavan and say, hey Bhagavan, this calamity has struck us, please come and protect me. As though he doesn't know what is going on. He is omniscient, omnipresent, sarvavyapi. Therefore, how can he not know what we are undergoing? So, how can we say that I have to call him to remind him that I'm undergoing a situation here? He knows very much. So the call is not for him to know what we are undergoing. That is not the purpose of the call. He is also there with us as Antaryami. So he is very much part of whatever is going on right now. Then what is this call for? The call is essentially a mindset shift. It is a transformation. It is an alchemy happening within us where we are breaking our own ego, which was until then preventing His grace, which was always available to us, to be accessible to us. Bhagavan is ever willing. His grace is like sun rays, available to one and all, without any discrimination whatsoever. Bhagavan never says that one ray of the sun is this person, the other ray I prevent from holding on to another person. He never says that. Everyone is equal to him, no discrimination whatsoever. Bhagavan's grace is available to each and every one of us. What is stopping the grace to work its magic on us and through us? It is our resistance to receive that grace. So when we call out to Bhagavan, Hey Bhagavan, Hey Sarvaloka Rakshaka, Hey Sharanagata Vatsala, the call is the breaking of our ego, which is when the magic starts to happen, which means we are making ourselves recipients to His grace. There is an inner alchemy happening where we realize, I am not the center of this universe. I am not the controller of everything that is happening in my life. There is somebody who is controlling everything, and He knows what is good for me and what must ensue right at this moment. Everything that is unfolding at this moment is unfolding as per His will, and He knows what is right for me and for this universe. Therefore, that call is that realization, that transformation, that shift that is happening within me, realizing I am not the center of my universe. As I recognize then and there that Bhagavan is the very center. And that exactly is the moment when the magic happens. That exactly is the moment when the miracle happens. So therefore, when we think of Gajendra Moksha, it is not the call of Gajendra that Bhagavan came in, because of the call that he came in to rescue. It is the transformation that happened in Gajendra. In many ways, Gajendra Moksha is so very relevant to us even to this day. All of these brilliant episodes from our Puranas and Itihasas, that is why it is Purana. Pura apinavam Puranam. It is eternally fresh, eternally relevant. Gajendra is like a mirror to each and every one of us, to many of us. And through Gajendra, we get to also understand where we are and where we are not. And therefore, the build-up to the Gajendra Moksha, when we talked of the three parts, the Stuti, which is so very scintillating, we must all chant, we can immerse ourselves in chanting, and we can connect with Bhagavan through that scintillating Stuti. Very important. But we can relish the Stuti even more when we understand the prelude to the Stuti, which is the Gajendra Bandha. Only when we understand the problem, we can really relish the glory of the solution. Because many times, the problem that we have is that we do not know the problem. That is our problem. It is the ignorance of what the problem is, the nature of the problem. So therefore, when we relish Gajendra Moksha Lila, we need to spend some time on the prelude to the Gajendra Moksha. Prelude to even the Stuti. Why did Gajendra call out the way he called out? And when we look at the prelude to the Stuti, we also get to relish each and every word that Gajendra uses in his Stuti. Very profound, so very scintillating, so very uplifting. And that is the reason why Vedanta Deshika, the illustrious Acharya, he wrote a beautiful work called Ashtabhujashtakam. Again, inspired by Ashtabhuja, the deity, right in front of Gajendra Pushkarini in Kanchipuram. Again, this is where the second Gajendra Moksha lila happened. Vedanta Desika imagines himself to be the Gajendra. He says, Hey Bhagavan, Gajendra Raksha Tvaritam Bhavantam. Hey Bhagavan, you went to rescue Gajendra, to protect Gajendra. He says, Grahairivaham Vishayair Vikrushtaha. Just like how Gajendra was captured and dragged into the pond by the crocodile, I too am captured by the crocodile of the Vishaya Sukhas in this world. I also have been mercilessly trapped. I am being dragged everywhere, all around. Everywhere I look around, I only see temptations and tribulations. I am being dragged. I have been captured by the Vishaya. Vishaya means sense objects. My senses are so weak. You have designed my senses to be faithful to capture everything that is presented to me. My senses are so weak that the objects of the senses continue to overpower me and drag me everywhere. Who is saying this? The illustrious Vedanta Desika is saying it. If he says, what should we be saying? And therefore he says, Apara Vijnana Dayanubhavam. You are Apara Vijnana Dayanubhavam. Your Vijnana is limitless, he says. Why is he specifically? He says Vijnana Dayanubhavam, he says. He uses two gunas here, Vijnana and Daya, are limitless, he says. Why he says? Essentially, he says, I don't need to tell you the pain that I am undergoing. You are omniscient. You know everything. You know what is happening to me. And you have limitless Daya too. The combination of these two must not stop you from coming to protect me. You know everything. Bhagavan cannot say, I did not know what was going on. Oh, is that so? No, you cannot say that. You know everything. On top of it, you are very personification of Daya, compassion. So how can you even stop yourself, come running? It's like looking at a mother and saying, you know what is, if your child gets hurt, obviously the mother will not wait even for a second. She will come running all the way. Similarly, because why? She knows that the child is hurt, and on top of it, she is the very personification of Daya. Now, if the mother does not know the child is hurt, the child got hurt outside the house, maybe she will not go running. But for Bhagavan, there is no such limitation. And when it comes to Daya, Bhagavan is millions of mothers put together. He is the very embodiment of Daya. So therefore, there is no reason for you, hey Bhagavan, I am being dragged. At least for Gajendra, it was one crocodile. For me, it is thousands of crocodiles pulling me apart, tearing me apart, and I am suffering in samsara. Therefore, aptam satam. Kuresha says, sarvabhuta suhridam. And Vedanta Deshika says, aptam satam. You are my apta. Apta means well-wisher. Suhrid, well-wisher. Dear friend, somebody who always thinks only for the well-being of the others. You are the apta, you are my apta. Satam. There could be aptas here in this material world, but aptam satam is Bhagavan alone. Aptam satam ashtabhujam prapadhye. Hey Ashtabhuja, Bhagavan, the Bhagavan there in front of the Pushkar, Gajendra Pushkarani Kanchipuram is so glorious. He has not 4 bhujas, he has 8 bhujas. It seems Bhagavan decided to protect my dear Gajendra. 4 arms are not enough, so therefore he doubled. He was in a hurry. He came running, rushing, not riding on Garuda. He was carrying Garuda by himself because the speed of Garuda was not enough. And therefore such was the Vatsalya of Bhagavan. Ashtabhujam prapadhye. This is the beauty of Bhagavan's compassion. And again, this reminds us not only of Bhagavan's compassion, also of the Bhakta's call, the transformation in Gajendra. And that is the reason why Gajendra has to be a mirror to us. And to all the samsaris, Gajendra is a supreme example. And therefore, with this, we will get to see how Shukacharya in Srimad Bhagavatam in 8th Skanda. The very fact that this comes in Tamasa Manvantara, again, we need to repeatedly keep thanking Parikshit for asking all the right questions. Gajendra Moksha lila wouldn't have been narrated if Parikshit did not ask. We must know the context of how this conversation happened. We saw how Shuka and Parikshit have been having this conversation throughout the Bhagavatam. Now, Shuka has been explaining about various manvantaras and all the historical accounts that happened. His narration was going on. He talked about Swayambhuva Manvantara, Swarochchisha Manvantara, Uttama Manvantara, the various Indras. Incidentally, we must also recall every Manvantara has a different set of Devatas. Every Manvantara has a different set of Saptarishis. Every Manvantara has a different Indra. So Indra is a title, is a role. So Shuka has been narrating all of this across all the Manvantaras, and he comes to Tamasa Manvantara, and passingly Shuka says, also in Tamasa Manvantara, to Harimeda and Harini, Bhagavan blessed them and took birth as their son as Hari, and he also rescued Gajendra. That's it, one sentence from Shuka. That was enough for Parikshit to say, I am keen to know how Bhagavan Hari protected Gajendra. Please do narrate that glorious Gajendra Moksha lila. Thanks to Parikshit's question now, Shukacharya starts to narrate the glorious incident of Gajendra Moksha. Asid girivaro rajam Trikuta iti vishrutaha kshirodena vrita shriman yojanayutam uchritaha. Now we get to know where the first Gajendra Moksha lila happened. Trikuta iti vishrutaha. Trikuta, the mount. Where is Trikuta mountain? We may wonder. It is not in Bhuloka. Trikuta mountain is in Shvetadvipa in Kshiravati. So, Asid girivaro rajan Trikuta iti vishrutaha kshirodena avrita shriman yojanayutam uchritaha. 10,000 yojanas. It is 10,000 yojanas wide, 10,000 yojanas tall. Shuka gives a very graphic account on the whole surroundings of not just the Shvetadvipa, on the Trikuta mountains. It seems the Trikuta mountain was so majestic with three peaks, and the mountain was filled with so many precious gems. And nestled amidst the Trikuta mountains were forests blooming with lots of divine flowers. The breeze in the forests were carrying divine fragrance all over, and because of the sylvan surroundings, these forests, these Trikuta mountains, attracted all the beings from higher lokas, Siddhas, Charanas, Nagas, Kinnaras, all the Devatas, it seems, used to assemble there. The caves of the Trikuta mountain was like, resorts for all the higher divine beings, and there were beautiful waterfalls where all the Devakanyas, Apsaras, all of them used to sport around. Such was this glorious place. And nestled within the Trikuta mountains was a garden called Ritumat. Ritumat garden was a divine garden again, filled with various sacred divine flowers and trees. And within these gardens was a beautiful lake. It seems this lake was shimmering like a liquid crystal. So serene, so beautiful the lake was. The lake was filled with beautiful lotus flowers which were always blooming, and the scent of the lotus got mixed with the waters of the lake, and it seems the waters tasted almost like amrita. And not only ordinary, just lotuses, surrounding the lake, like a boundary across, there were different kinds of flowers. Shuka lists more than 50 types of flowers, which were all blooming all the time, making this place the right place for all the higher beings to come and immerse themselves in captivating charm, delight themselves in this place. And that's what it was very famous for. So he sets the scene, the place where events unfolded. Within the forests of this Trikuta Parvata is where Gajendra used to live. Now, later we will also get to know who was Gajendra in his previous birth. All of us have this one question immediately asked. Whenever any character we discuss in Srimad Bhagavatam, what was this character in the previous birth? Why did he get moksha? We are curious of two things. What was he in the previous birth? Why did he get moksha? Both will be answered here, luckily for us. And sometimes we don't find the answer, sometimes we do find answers. So Gajendra happened to be ruling the forests in the Trikuta mountains. Gajendra was the leader of a massive herd of elephants. He had many wives, many children, many relatives. He was the king, unquestioned king. He was very dharmic. He was righteous. He was not wicked at all. He was very dharmic. But then we will see from the introduction of Gajendra how Gajendra is a mirror to a samsari like each and every one of us. And then having explained the setting, giving a very graphic description of the Trikuta mountains, the Rutumad gardens, the sylvan surroundings and the beautiful lake there in the Rutumad gardens. Now the entry to, we can call Gajendra hero. The hero entry is beautifully given. Shuka narrates how Gajendra majestically enters the scene and he walks through the forest, and from the description we can see the characteristics. He walks in with all his multiple wives, followed by all his children and all the relatives. Very, very in authoritative manner. As he walks, everybody is following him. He is so proud of his authority, so proud of his position. And as he walks, all the other animals, some in fear run away, some with great respect don't walk in front of him. So with lot of prestige, with exercising his position as the king of all the elephants, Gajendra walks. And then as he is walking, a swarm of bees are also inviting him. The bees are carrying the aroma, the divine fragrance of the special lotus flowers from the lake. Gajendra already is intoxicated. His liquor is dropping from his trunks. He is so very intoxicated. His vision is slightly blurred. But then he is the king. He is the powerful. Nothing can stop him. And with majestically, nonchalantly, with arrogance, he is walking. He knows even his vision is intoxicated. He will find the way. He is trampling the trees. He is walking on the thorns. Nothing can stop him. He is tearing apart everything that is coming on his way, and everybody is glorifying him, and everybody is walking, going along. And then as he goes, following the path that the bees are showing, the bees are attracting him towards the scented waters of the lake. He enters, he sees the lake, and he jumps into the lake. He takes a luxurious bath in the lake. Now, if we see this narration of Gajendra, we can actually see a typical parallel to every samsari's journey, the journey of samsara. Just like Gajendra, a Baddha Jiva, a samsari gets lost in indulgence in sensual pleasures. To such an extent, the journey of a samsari becomes a life of pleasure. A journey of a samsari becomes a life of pleasure. And everything and anything the samsari does is essentially around stacking up actions and activities for the sake of pleasure. The mind keeps on chasing pleasure without a pause. There is nothing in life other than seeking bodily gratification. Completely drowning in pleasures, the samsari does not realize that he is actually drowning. That is why the cycle of karma is sometimes seen as a jacuzzi, but actually it's a whirlpool which sucks the samsari deeper in the abyss of karma. But Gajendra, a samsari like Gajendra, gets indulged continuously and constantly. Life is all of the summum bonum of life is just gratification, sense gratification, nothing more, nothing less. Now, as long as the samsari is chasing a life of pleasure, he will not discover the pleasure of life. We need to understand this very clearly. Life of pleasure, pleasure of life. If we chase everything in life and make life the life of pleasure, then we cannot discover the pleasure of life. And this is again what Gajendra, pleasure of life comes only when we pause the mind from chasing pleasures and start reflecting on the higher purpose of our existence. There is a purpose for us to exist beyond sense gratification. And therefore, here we see the entry of Gajendra going right. And then we see, there is a beautiful description of how Gajendra jumps. And this again, a samsari who is blessed with various gifts of life. Bhagavan bestows various gifts, not for the samsari to get lost enjoying the gifts. The gifts in life are given so that one can, through the gifts of life, start realizing the gift giver. But unfortunately, when the gifts become too many, the samsari gets lost in chasing more gifts. Now Gajendra here, and therefore a life of luxury of Gajendra is beautifully explained here. Now Shuka narrates what happens. Gajendra, along with all his wives and children and relatives, all the elephants now are having a luxurious bath. It's like going on a luxury vacation and having a great time together. So, Pushkareno Dhruta Shikarambubihi Nipayayan Samsnapayan Yathagrihi Grini Karenuhu Karabasamcha Durmadho Nachashta Krichram Kripanoja Mayaya. So, Pushkareno Dhruta Uddruta. Pushkarena means with his trunk. Uddruta, by drawing out water. Shikara Ambubihi. What did Gajendra do? Now, Gajendra is not a wicked person. Now, he is somebody who wants to take care of his family. Now, how is Gajendra taking care of his family? Now, obviously, this is with respect to what an elephant would do. So, they are in a lake. What is Gajendra doing? He is with his trunk drawing out water and sprinkling water on all the other elephants, his wives, his children, essentially giving them a nice, luxurious bath. Very responsible father. So Pushkareno Dhruta Shikarambubihi Nipayayan Samsnapayan Yatagrihi. He is giving all the little elephants nice bath, luxurious bath, rubbing them and taking care. So essentially showing that he is a very responsible, but unfortunately responsibility when we water the leaves and forget to water the roots, that responsibility is of no use. Typically, this is what happens. Seeped in materialism, we focus on watering the leaves of the tree and forget to water the roots of the tree. So now, therefore, here what? And then, Grini Karenuhu Karamsta Durmadaha. Karenuhu means all the elephants, the female elephants, his wives. Karabhan, all his children. Durmadaha, very much attached to them. Nachashtakrichram Kripanoja Mayaya. Nachashtakrichram, which means hard work. He's doing a lot of hard work. Just like how a samsari is toiling, putting hard work all the time. Every samsari obviously is doing one thing, working very hard for the sake of accumulating something for the family. Gajendra is also doing. Now, what is the problem there? The problem there, as Gajendra, we will find out. Gajendra was royal, was responsible, was respected. But there is one thing why he mirrors every other samsari. He is also asleep spiritually. He is awake materially, he is asleep spiritually. There is this famous quote that says, he who knows not, and he knows not, he knows not. He who knows not, and he knows not, he knows not. He is a fool. He is ignorant. He who knows, and he knows not, he knows. He is asleep. He who knows not, and he knows not, he is ready for the journey of learning. He who knows, and he knows, he is a wise man. Now, Gajendra here falls in the second category. He who knows, and he knows not, he knows. Many samsaris are like this. He knows, which means they are asleep. They are not fools. Gajendra is not a fool. He is not ignorant. Later we will see why we say this. Gajendra is a great bhakta. He has been worshipping Bhagavan, but he is spiritually is been asleep. He had to be awakened. That inner awakening has to happen. He who knows, but knows not, he knows. This is spiritual sleeping. Spiritual sleeping is essentially where one is not awakened to reality. Therefore, Gajendra here is spiritually asleep. Right at the beginning of Bhagavatam, Shuka explains to Parikshit the difference between a Grihastha and a Grihamedhi. We must recollect who is a Grihamedhi. Grihastha ashrama is a very important ashrama. Now, when we look at all the 4 ashramas in life, in fact, ashrama dharma is a vehicle for moksha. So, being a Grihastha is so very vital. So, our Shastras never say you need to give up your family, you need to become a sannyasi. Never. Grihastha dharma is celebrated. But there is a difference between a Grihastha and a Grihamedhi. Now, a definition of Grihamedhi Shuka gives is beautiful. Shrotavyadini Rajendra Nrinam Santi Sahasrashaha Apashyatam Atmatattvam Griheshu Grihamedhinam. Apashyatam Atmatattvam. One who is blind to reality, one who is so much immersed in materialism, materially engrossed. He says, Nrinam, hey Raja, Santi Sahasrasaha. Where one is torn apart, there are hundreds and thousands of desires which are dragging him in all directions. When there are too many goals, one can achieve no goal. This is the rule of life. When we are dragged in different directions by different goals, our achievement of any goal is suboptimal. So therefore, the difference between a Grihamedhi and Grihastha, Grihamedhi is constantly listening to only the loudest desires. That is why Shrotavyadini Rajendra. Shrotavyadini. Within us, there is always a noise, isn't it? Inside our mind, the mind is always chattering. Our desires are constantly being processed. We can pack ourselves, go to Himalayas and sit in a cave. There will be outer calm, there will never be inner calm. Until and unless we manage the inner world. Now, there's hundreds and thousands of desires inside. These are loudest desires. Now, underneath this loudest desire, these are the superficial desires, surface layer. There are different layers of desires that we need to understand. As we cut through the layers, somewhere at the bottom is actually our deepest desire. All of us have the deepest desire, which is never heard. Because in the humdrum of the surface desires which are always loud, the deepest desire goes unheard completely. What is the deepest desire? The deepest desire to be eternally loved, to eternally exist, to eternally belong. We do not listen to this deepest desire and we get carried away by all the loud desires all around, trying to fulfill those desires, and therefore we are in a state of disappointment and frustration all the time. We do not really reflect on how do I address the loudest desire within me. The loudest desire, the deepest desire within me. The deepest desire is, how do I eternally live? Is it possible at all? How do I eternally be loved? Is it possible at all? Therefore, a Grihastha is one who calms these layers of desires in the mind, and he discovers his deepest desire and he shapes his life and living around this deepest desire. Whereas a Grihamedhi gets himself scattered, gets himself torn apart by the superficial loudest desires. Therefore, just like how Shuka explains the difference between a Grihamedhi and Grihastha, here again we see how being a Grihamedhi can be so very dangerous. But luckily, Gajendra is not a Grihamedhi. The problem with Gajendra is not that he is ignorant, not that he is a fool. He is only asleep, and we will see that. Tam tatra kaschin ripadaiva choditaha graho baliyam starane rushagrahit yadrichayevam yasanam gato gajaha yatabalam soti balo vichakrame. Now what happens? Gajendra is supposedly planning to have a great time together with all his wives and all his children in that beautiful lake. But then calamity strikes. Calamity strikes not when we plan. We don't plan for calamities. Nobody plans for calamities. But one thing which is inescapable is calamity. Calamity strikes everybody. When it strikes, that's why Shuka beautifully says, Tam tatra kaschin ripadaiva choditaha. Daiva choditaha. The attack by the crocodile is not random. No event that occurs in our life is a random event. We can never say it randomly happened. Everything is orchestrated. There is a clear pattern. There is a very clear order in everything that anything happens. Therefore, Daiva Choditaha. Daiva Choditaha, providence, what we call as destiny, can also be called as Prarabdha. Again, Karma Phala is ordained and is in accordance with the karma that is done. So, Tam Tatra Kaschin Ripadaiva Choditaha Graho Baliyams Charane Rushagrahit. By the arrangement of Daiva, which means because of the destiny, a strong crocodile who was very angry at the elephant. The crocodile was very angry looking at, having a crocodile is one of those another samsaris, very jealous. If somebody is having a good time, how come they can have a good time? I should somehow stop that. The crocodile possibly was in that category. Can't stand somebody else having a great time. So what it was angry because Gajendra or no other elephant did any harm to the crocodile. There are 1,000 reasons why one should get angry, right? One can get angry just because one is jealousy also. So therefore here, crocodile was angry at the elephant and attacked the elephant's leg. Immediately it rushed and captured with all its force. It grabbed the elephant's leg and with its strong teeth, it started dragging Gajendra deep into the pond. Yadrichayevam yasanam gato gajaha yatabalam sotibalam vichakrame. The Gajendra was certainly strong. Obviously, he was the king of all the elephants there in Trikuta mountains. And therefore he tried his, and how can a king lose to a crocodile? Right? So Gajendra said, this cannot happen to me. And therefore he tried his best to get free from this danger. That was what we need to understand here is this crocodile. The calamity called crocodile struck this Gajendra. This calamity like crocodile strikes every samsari. And Gajendra is nothing, no different from any other samsari. And the purpose of the calamity is what Gajendra understood. This is what is important. The purpose of the calamity is transformation. Is not to prove Gajendra's strength. And that's what Gajendra stands as an example. Tato Gajendrasya manobalau jasam kalena dirghena mahan abhudvyaha vikrishyamanasya jale avasidataha viparyayo abhut sakalam jalaukasaha. Now, unfortunately for Gajendra, he got caught by the crocodile in the lake, not outside. Now, the lake is not Gajendra's terrain. In the forest, Gajendra is the king. In the lake, crocodile is the king. Now, we must also know where our strengths come into play and which terrain. For Gajendra, being in water, he is strong, but water is not his strength. So therefore, his strengths, his abilities do not come into play in a different terrain. Now, let's take this parallel to a samsari, to every Baddha Jiva. This world is not our terrain. This world of Prakriti is not the Jiva's terrain. So therefore, if we continue to fight like Gajendra fighting the crocodile, like Gajendra, we will continue to fail. Just like how the crocodile captures Gajendra in its territory, Prakriti captures us in its territory. This is Prakriti Mandala. This created world is called Prakriti Mandala. Aprakrita Mandala is our territory. Prakriti Mandala is not our territory. Therefore, we become weaker and weaker and weaker. The more we fight, more weaker we become. That's exactly what happened to Gajendra. The more Gajendra fought the crocodile, the weaker he started to become. And the stronger the crocodile became. Because it's an uneven fight. Our fight against the gunas is also an uneven fight. We keep fighting against the gunas, our own tamas and our own rajas, which we have faithfully accumulated for thousands and thousands of lifetimes. How can we ever fight the tamas, which we have carried into this life from hundreds and thousands of lifetimes, thinking that I will overcome my tamas? Impossible. I keep fighting, I keep failing. Now, I am not saying I am fatalistic here. We will see how Gajendra realized and he found a solution out of this problem. Kalena dhidgena mahan abhudvyayaha vrikshyamanasya jale avasidataha viparyayaha abhut sakalam jalaukashaha. The Atma is not weak. The Atma is strong. But unfortunately, we are playing in the wrong battlefield. This is the Prakriti Mandala, is the wrong battlefield for us. And we forget that we are eternal and we are fighting for our survival. What kind of a battle is this? The Atman is eternal. Ajo nityaha shashvatoyam puranam na hanyate hanyamane sharire. But what are we doing in our life and living? We are fighting to stop death, which is inevitable. We are fighting to conquer things which never remain the same. We are trying to make temporary into permanent. And all of this is setting ourselves for continuous failures. Without realizing, whatever we are seeking, we are already that. We are seeking eternality. We are eternal. We are seeking to belong to Krishna. We already belong to Him. Why do we seek? We already belong to Him. We don't need to change our relationship with Krishna. We don't need to connect to Him anew. We are already connected to Him. So therefore, here Gajendra's struggle with the crocodile in the lake again is an eye-opener for all us samsaris. Ittam Gajendrasya yadapa sankhatam pranasya dehi vivashah yadrichaya aparayan atma vimokshane chiram dadavav imam buddhim atabhya padyata. This is the turning point here. Gajendra aparayan atma vimokshane. Gajendra finally came to an understanding. After deliberating, came to an understanding that while I am embodied, I am helpless. Ittam Gajendrasa yadapa sankatam pranasya dehi vivashaha yadrichaya. Because I am embodied being, I am helpless. There are hundreds of things which are beyond my control. Whether I want to be the controller, the reality is that I am not the controller. I have to awaken to this fact. If I do not accept that I am not the controller, I only constantly keep struggling. Gajendra realized that. Now Gajendra is waking up. Gajendra is slowly waking up. Aparayan atma vimokshane. Aparayan means being unable. Atma vimokshana can be looked at in two ways. To save himself, to save his atma. Not just deha samrakshana, atma samrakshana. Because Gajendra is now slowly being reminded. Gajendra's problem is every samsari's problem. The root cause of all samsara, forgetfulness. This is what we keep calling spiritual amnesia. All of us are suffering from spiritual amnesia. We forget who we are. And Gajendra, therefore, slowly, it's like those who suffer amnesia, suddenly when they start remembering, they're thrilled. Oh, this happened, that happened. Gajendra now is slowly starting to, I belong to Narayana. So therefore that reality is striking him. And imam buddhim athabhya padyata. Therefore he comes to a following decision. And what is that decision? The decision is very simple. He realizes, I am truly helpless. I am not the controller. I belong to Narayana. So what should I do? The only decision I can take, the only choice that I can make is to surrender to him. So this decision to surrender to him comes so very naturally. Now, Krishna in the Gita talks about, we all sometimes mistake Gajendra, we also, our understanding of the types of bhaktas sometimes also prevent us from understanding Gajendra. When Krishna says, Chaturbida bhajante mam janas sukritinarjuna atto jignasurarthati jnani cha bharatarshava. 7th chapter of the Gita, many years back. Once in a while we should not forget Gita. 7th, Krishna divides the number of bhaktas. Now, Chaturbida bhajante mam, 4 types of bhaktas. Artho jignasurarthati jnani cha bharatarshava. Artaha, arthati, jignasu, jnani. Now we all know this. Jnani is the supreme bhakta. Artha. But what we fail to understand, who is Artha, who is Arthati? Artha, one who lost something and he is seeking to regain what he is lost. Arthaha, Arthati, Artha, Arti, one who is seeking Artha, one who is seeking something new. Now, all the 4 types of bhaktas are equally important for us. Krishna says Jnani is the supreme bhakta. Why? Because we generally look at Gajendra and say, oh, Gajendra is Artaha. Right? Because he is crying out for help, because he is in trouble and therefore he is seeking. Therefore, we can classify him. That understanding is partially correct. But what we must, when we discuss the 4 types of bhaktas, we sometimes take comfort saying, we may not be Jnani, possibly we are somewhere, we may be Artha, we may be Arthati, maybe a little bit of Jignasu. Jnani, we will get there. We comfort ourselves saying, this is because we look at the shloka in isolation. We look at the shloka in isolation and we fail to look at the context for this shloka. Eventually Krishna says, Udharas sarvayevete jnani tu atmayavametam. While he is celebrating Jnani, he also looks at says all the 4 bhaktas are Udharas, he says. All are equally Udharas, so very generous. How can a receiver be generous, we may ask. A giver is generous. Krishna gives. The bhakta takes. But he says, Udharas sarvayevete. All these bhaktas are also equally generous. He is celebrating the bhaktas as being generous because of them he can display and demonstrate his generosity. So therefore he is calling all of them Udharas. So therefore these bhaktas must be all must be special. Now how do we understand where we are truly? If we need to benchmark ourselves, we must first little bit rewind and look at the context where these 4 shlokas come. The context is, what does Krishna say? Daivi Hesha even though is a Artha who is calling out for protection, he is a Sharanagata. So with that, we should look at what Gajendra did. Gajendra immediately came to a conclusion. Namamime jnataya aturam gajaha kutah karinya prabhavanti mochitum grahena pashena vidaturavritaha apyaham chatam yami paramparayanam. All the other elephants around, the herd of all his wives, the relatives, everybody, nobody can rescue me from this danger. What then to speak of others? Nobody can do anything about it because totally I am now helpless. Grahena pashena vidaturavritaha apyaham chatam yami paramparayanam. Therefore, it is my destiny that it is because of Deva that I am being attacked by this crocodile, I am caught, I am trapped. All that I can now do is only one thing. Apyaham chatam yami paramparayanam. All that I can do is just seek Bhagavan's shelter. There is nothing else that I can do. This is where that true Sharanagati is coming in. That realizing one's helplessness. So I started off saying, crying out for help is not to remind Bhagavan that I am undergoing pain. Be it Draupadi or Gajendra. They are not reminding Krishna saying, hey, don't you know? It is their own inner shift. It is their own inner alchemy that is happening. Right at that moment, the ego dissolves. Right at that moment, that connection with Bhagavan becomes very clear. And it is in that moment, bhakti overflows and one realizes that one needs only one thing in this life. It is not liberation just from fear and delusion, liberation from this very bondage of samsara. This is exactly the moment that happens to Gajendra. Therefore, Gajendra, yah kaschaneshu balino antargat prachanda vegat abhidavato brusham bhitam prapannam paripati yadbhayad mrityu pradavati aranam tamimahi. Mrityu pradavati aranam tamimahi. No, aranam means the only shelter. Gajendra, the Varanam, realized, it thought it had several shelters. Now, when we all grow up thinking there are shelters that are possible, lasting shelters, but every time we think something is our shelter, it could be people, it could be things, we only realize that no shelter in this mortal world remains forever. And therefore, the only shelter which remains forever, which is the only true shelter, is Bhagavan himself. And therefore, Gajendra, knowing that this crocodile is, it's beautifully, here Shuka says, Prachanda Vegat Abhidhavato Brisham. Antakoragat Prachanda Vegat Abhidhavato Brisham. The crocodile like is the serpent of time. The serpent of time is chasing every samsari. Whether we know or not, as we are walking, there is a serpent coming to swallow us all the time. Gajendra has realized that. We ignore it. We think, what serpent of time? The serpent of time is there swallowing us all the time, moment by moment, slowly and steadily it's swallowing. And Gajendra realizes that. And it is, therefore it says, the only one who can chase away this serpent of time, remove all the fears from me, is the one. Bhitam prapannam paripati yadbhayan mrityu pradavati aranam tamimahi. The one who basically is mrityu to mrityu. Mrityum mrityum namamyaham, we say. The one who is mrityu to mrityu, that Bhagavan, Narayana, he is the one who alone is my shelter. So that is the decision that Gajendra comes to. Having come to that decision now, Shuka immediately says, Shri Bhadarayanaru vacha evam yavasito buddhya samadhaya manohridi jajapa paramam japyam prag janmani anushikshitam. With firm conviction. Now this is, next week we will see Sharanagata Lakshana as that applies to Gajendra. We will go deeper into what is Sharanagati, what is the Sharanagata Lakshana, what is the Sharanya Lakshana, and how through Gajendra Moksha Stuti we can understand both aspects, both Lakshanas. Here Shuka is saying, Evam vyavasito buddhya. Vyavasito buddhya vyavasitaha. Krishna in the second chapter says, Vyavasayatmika buddhihi ekeha kurunandana, he says. Essentially bringing clarity to the mind, bringing conviction. The mind which is being dragged by several things. Clarity means not too many goals. There is only one anchor, one goal. And when there is clarity of the mind, samadhaya manaha. Samadhaya manaha. Mana becomes samadha, which means it becomes calm. Samadhaya mano hridi. Settling the mind with total clarity of the intellect. What is Gajendra doing? Gajendra is aligning the mind and the intellect. He is aligning his head and his heart. And samadhaya mano hridi. He is focusing on his hridi. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishtaha mattas pratignanam apohanam cha. Bhagavan, who is there in his hridaya kamala, he is focusing on that Bhagavan to call out the Bhagavan from Vaikuntha. Jajapa paramam japyam pragjanmani anukshitam. Paramam japyam. Pragjanmani anushikshitam. Gajendra learnt, it seems, a very glorious mantra, a beautiful mantra. And in his previous janma, he used to do constant japa of Narayana. That mantra, he remembered right at that moment. You may ask, how come right at that moment he remembered? Why he did not remember right at the beginning when he was fighting against the crocodile? Answer is obvious. The moment Gajendra surrendered to Bhagavan, mattas pratrignanam apohanam cha. Krishna says, I am the cause of your forgetfulness, I am the cause of your remembrance. So therefore Gajendra, when he surrendered to Bhagavan, he immediately remembered. He remembered the japa that he used to Jajapa paramam japyam. He says, he started to chant that glorious mantra, pragjanmani anukshitam. That japa, that beautiful mantra that he learnt in his previous janma, he knew. Mantaram trayate iti mantraha. Mantra is that which protects, is mantra. Bhagavan is mantra swarupi. We invoke Bhagavan through his mantra. So Gajendra realized, from this we know, Gajendra is not an ordinary soul. Gajendra is a great bhakta. Now the forgetfulness is gone and remembrance has come. His spiritual amnesia has been cured. And now he remembers vividly what he learnt in his previous janma as Indradyumna. Who is that Indradyumna? What he learnt, we will discuss later. That is after the stuti itself. Let us chant. Let us chant at least the first, this shloka which the Shuka introduces, and at least the first part of the stuti, the very first shloka. Sri Bhadarayana Yevam yavasito buddhya Samadhaya mano hridi Jajapa paramam japyam Pragjanmani anushikshitam Shri Gajendra Uvacha Om Namo Bhagavate Tasmai Yataye Tachidatmakam Purushayadi Bijaya Pareshaya Bhidhimahi Om Namo Bhagavate Tasmai Yataye Tachidatmakam Purushayadi Bijaya Pareshaya Bhidhimahi. What a scintillating start to the stuti. Gajendra starts with Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Tasmai. Namaha. This Namaha Shabda is such a profound Shabda. It encapsulates the very essence of Sharanagati. Namaha is reverential prostration. Namaha is total surrender. Namaha is surrendering everything that I have to Bhagavan. So therefore, Om Namaha and Abhidhimahi. Let me meditate upon him. This is what Gajendra says. Now immediately we say, meditate upon whom? Who should we meditate upon is the question the Shastras ask. Because meditation, dhyana, is a very important sadhana. Whom should we meditate upon? The Shastras give a very simple answer. Karanam tu dhyayaha. Whom should I meditate on? I meditate on the Akila Karana, the Nishkarana, the Jagat Karana, the Adbhuta Karana. So Karanam tu dhyayaha. Therefore, the answer to the question, whom should I meditate on? I should meditate on Bhagavan, Narayana, who is the Akila Karana, Jagat Karana, Nishkarana. So therefore, Karanam tu dhya. This is exactly what Gajendra is doing. Abhidhimahi, let me meditate upon who? Tasmai, unto him. Who is that? It beautifully says, Bhagavataha, Bhagavan. Again, when we say, we see how the stuti is being built so very beautifully. It also gives us, when we surrender, how do we experience Bhagavan? How do we pray to him? How do we glorify him? Bhagavat Shabda. Jnanabala Aishwarya Veera Shakti Tejam Sasheshataha. Bhagavat Shabda Vachyani Hina Eher Gunadibihi. Vinaher Gunadibihi. Parashara talks about Bhagavat Shabda. Who is Bhagavan? Shat Purna, Guna Purna, Shat Purna, Akilaheya Pratyanika Kalyana Ekatana, Svetara Samastavastu Vilakshana. One who is endowed with innumerable auspicious qualities. He is Bhagavan. Bhaga means wealth. One who possesses the wealth of Kalyana Gunas. When I meditate on him, how do I meditate on him? Every guna becomes a vehicle for me to connect with him. So therefore, Gajendra says, Bhagavatha, Bhagavat Shabda, Yata, from who? That Bhagavan, from who? Etachchidatmakam. This entire Jagat is Chitachidatmakam. Chitachidatmaka means Chit is sentient beings, Achit, insentient entities. This entire Jagat is an admixture of two tattvas. Ishvara tattva, Bhagavan is Ishvara, Narayana. Chit, Achit. Chit means all the jivas, all the jivatmas. Achit, Prakriti, everything that is Prakriti. This created universe is Chitachidatmaka. This universe is created with the interplay of Chit and Achit. But Bhagavan does not just create. He creates and he pervades and permeates within. Therefore, Chitachidatmaka. He is the Antaryami of Chit. He is Antaryami of Achit as well. Therefore, Edachidatmakam Jagat Purushayadi Bijaya. Purushaya Adi Bijaya. Therefore, he is source of all sources. Adi Bija. Source of all beings that we can think of. Pareshaya. Paraha. Ishaha. Pareshaha. Isha. One who controls. One who rules. How does he rule? By pervading everything. And Para Isha, the supreme Isha, the supreme controller. Therefore, Om Namo Bhagavate Tasmai Yataye Tachidatmakam Purushayadi Bijaya Pareshaya Vidhimahi. Let us continue to contemplate on that Paresha, that Purushayadi Bija, that Chitachidatmaka Purusha, that Bhagavan Narayana who is waiting. He has been waiting for this very moment. He could have come right at the time when the crocodile attacked, but he knew that the right time for him, he chooses when to enter the scene. No, it's like Bhagavan is always there. We all know that. But he manifests in a way that he becomes accessible to us when we are ready. So therefore, he was waiting for Gajendra to be ready. It's not that he was absent. How can we say Bhagavan is ever absent from anywhere? He's always been there. So in Vaikuntha, Sri Mahalakshmi is looking at Bhagavan. He is becoming impatient. But he also knows that Gajendra is going to present a scintillating stuti. So he will also let the stuti happen so that we all get the treasury of the stuti. It's not just one shloka, a series of shlokas. How many of them we will relish? It depends on several factors and several people. But we will continue to contemplate on that moment where the transformation happened in Gajendra. The shift that happened, that alchemy where Gajendra unconditionally surrendered to Bhagavan. Until then, let us contemplate on Gajendra and wait for Gajendra Moksha yet to happen. 1-2 more weeks we will see. Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamastu.